is bring those like-minded people, getting those people in
What are we
positions of power.
like-minded about, though? I'm still trying to figure out. You haven't said anything
What
other than kind of generic stuff.
I mean, it's that's a difficult thing because I'm very different from a lot of the people who watch the show as well. I mean, I'm an artist. I live in a liberal city. I completely have a different
All right.
view of
Well, hey,
life
man, I
than most
appreciate it. Do you
people.
have any last comments? And I'm going to go to the next caller.
Unless you have another question, not necessarily. Yep. Mhm.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Delson, what's up?
So the way I understand the Quaker movement is it seems to be an identitarian movement in this beginning stages, trying to create an identitarian awakening. And the second movement is to try to move into politics, as he explains on multiple different podcasts, I believe, that is the whole goal of the Quaker movement is to cause an in his kind of his words, awakening amongst white people to then put in a more white government. Like, if I'm not mistaken, that seems to be like the position of what he's trying to do. And it's not as simple as well, we're going to do a one step, two step plan. It seems to be a multi-pronged plan he seems to be going about.
And that is what exactly?
It is trying to get white people to see that they are in a ethnic conflict with other ethnic groups that only wish to secure, resources for them and themselves, and that what we should do is to engage in the same ethnic conflict as they are, but just secure more resources in our camp, is what it seems like. And the way they go about it through tons of rhetoric and, as the other guy was saying, picking out information, but I do believe that it is trying to convince mainly a demographic of white people that America was mainly an Anglo-Saxon white country, and it was founded on Anglo-Saxon views, and it should remain that way. Yes.
Okay, so how does Catholicism fit into this? I'm trying to figure that out.
This is the part where I'll just be honest. I don't think Nick really can put these two together. The Catholicism part, I will say, I don't think. Oh,
okay,
yes.
what kind of Christian? Seems like the basic questions haven't even been considered here.
All right. Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to trap you. I'm just trying to understand what the position is, the game plan. I've not kept up with what Nick Fuentes argues, so I don't know what the plan is and what the argument is. So I'm willing to hear what the positions are. I want to be convinced. I want you to, and if you're a Zionist and you want to convince me, you can come on and convince me. If you're a dispensationalist, if you're a classical liberal, if you're a tiny mustache man worshiper, a hero, he's a hero, you can come on and convince me. I'll let you talk today. I want to hear what the argument is. James, what's up, man? I want you guys to convince me. So far, I've just kind of heard some general slogans and ideas, and I'm not knocking the people that said the slogans and ideas, but I'm trying to understand what the real platform and plan is here. What the actual strategy is. What are we needing to read? What is our homework? What are we trying to do? James, what's up?
Hey, Jay, man. Both you and Nick have been very formative for my own thinking in the last few years, so I figure while I can't probably defend his positions, I can maybe serve as a better bridge than some of these other guys. Okay. I think Nick himself acknowledges that he's not really a political strategist, that he's not going to helm a movement. He's, I think, more trying to disseminate information and be sort of an influencer.
So he's not, okay, I thought it was a political, and I'm not being a smart ass, it's an honest question. I thought this was a political movement and he's leading us into taking power, but it's not.
Well, that's sort of what I thought as well, but as I took a closer look, I think he used to be running AFPAC and things like that to actually organize, and there may or may not be stuff going on behind the scenes. I don't really know, but if you kind of try and get a straight answer from him, he'll basically say something like, look, I'm not that guy, I'm not disciplined enough to marshal people, I'm really just sort of a journalist, And his standard line there is like, well, what we need to do is build elite human capital and get, you know,
What is a journalist? What journalism?
Oh,
I'm not being a dickhead, honestly. Like, I've never paid attention to journalists. I think journalism is kind of stupid, but like like a talking head or an actual journalist, because journalists, you know, they study and they go to school for journalism and whatever. And I know Nick went to college, so maybe he did study journalism. I don't even know.
No, I think you're right. I think he sort of blurs the line a little bit because he is a talking head, and that's his primary function. But kind of like you, he's very well cited when he speaks, and he's a lot more dense in terms of actual facts than, you know, many of the talking heads out there. And so I think his whole goal at this point, as far as I can tell, is just to influence, and I think he's hoping other people will kind of come to the fore. So it is a bit of a cop out, and that's kind of my right.
So is it Christian nationalism or not Christian nationalism?
I think it would be considered Christian nationalism. He's fairly vague in terms of like what the prioritization is. I think the immediate priorities are basically like stop immigration, stop foreign wars, and then he is kind of pushing this like soft cultural Christianity.
Okay. How are we stopping these things?
That's where it gets really hazy.
So there's not an actual platform, game plan, activist like plan of attack. I'm not faulting anyone. I'm just as honest with the question. I don't know.
No. I'm with you. I think so the Groyper Wars have been these devices in the past, obviously for infiltrating the Turning Point stuff, and then he kind of did an aborted Groyper War during the Trump campaign, and so there's a little bit of and his thing against Joe Kent, I guess, which, you know, earned him the ire of Tucker at some point. So he himself has kind of like organized these like little tactical runs, but there isn't really like that's publicly visible anyway, like any kind of a larger structure for, you know, doing anything persistent.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. Carzilla, what's on your mind? You can keep talking if you want to, James. I don't care.
Cool.
Hey Jay, I appreciate your work, man. I don't speak for Nick or the Groypers at all. I can tell you, I've been watching Nick since about 2019, off and on. I work a day job. I'm a normal guy, middle class, got a couple kids, a wife. The reason that, I mean, you know, this may not be the subject at hand here. I can't stand seeing two guys that I respect like going at it. You know, I don't understand Nick's comments on you. But I can say the reason that I watch him, if it's any value to you, is that I just don't, you know, I just have a baseline suspicion of the mainstream media, and Nick is really, he's funny, and the way that he breaks things down for me is something that I understand. You know, I guess if anything, I speak for everything.
What'd you say about mainstream media again?